Let's talk about something that I wish someone told me during the first few years of my entrepreneurial journey. If you're struggling in business, it's not because of your website or your sales funnel. It's not the economy. It's not the algorithm. It's not the market. It's probably not even your offer. If you're struggling, it's almost surely because of a belief you're carrying you may not even realize is there, but it's doing more damage to your business and to your revenue than any bad strategy ever could. Now, I want you to listen closely because this is going to sound familiar on the surface. The belief is if I can just find the right strategy, everything will change. That's it. Find the right funnel, find the right niche, the right coach, the right course, the right system, and once I find it, everything will be all right. Well, I'm here to tell you that is absolutely not true. And before you nod like you've heard this before, I want you to stay with me because the version of this that's wrecking your business is not an obvious one. It's not the hustle until you break version. It's quieter than that, and it's dressed up looking like wisdom. And it's exactly what makes it so hard to catch. See, the belief I'm talking about is not held by lazy people, okay? These are people that are doing the dues, they're paying the price, they're investing in themselves, they're going to conferences and masterminds, they're hungry, they stay up late, they get up early, they're doing all of the things that you need to do up front in order to have a business pay you with time and income on the back end. And that's the problem because they're doing all the things that they think they should do, but the tweaks that they're making aren't really moving the needle and helping them move past that bottleneck. And they're still stuck. No matter what they try, they just don't feel like they can get ahead. And again, it's not because they're not working hard enough. It's because they're building on a foundation that can't hold what they're trying to build. Now, let me show you exactly what I'm talking about in practice. First, this belief will cost you time because when you believe you have the right strategy, you go all in. You're out there waiting for things to change because you feel like you're doing the right thing. You're always one more thing away from getting the result that you want. One more piece of information and you'll be ready. But that's not patience. That is fear dressed up as preparation, and you have to be really careful about that. Second, it costs you pricing power because many entrepreneurs I work with are chronically undercharging. They think if they charge too much, then they won't have enough revenue. And if they charge a lower amount, well, at least they'll have some volume. And that's not the way to build a business. If you dig into the why, it almost never comes back to the market. It always comes back to what you believe you're worth and what you believe the products and services you offer are worth. A broken foundation produces a broken offer every single time. The third, and this one's uncomfortable, is it costs you identity because you're not really being who you're called to be. I've talked to people who have been in business 3, 4, 5 years, some even longer. They're smart, honest, motivated, driven people who really want to over deliver for their clients. And they're worn out, they're exhausted. This is the number one reason people quit. It's not because entrepreneurship is too hard, but it's because they've been laboring without the right foundation in place. And that leads me to Psalm 127, verse 1. Unless the Lord builds the house, the builder labors in vain. This is not a passive verse. This is a diagnosis, and I want you to see it as that. If you don't have the right foundation, you're wasting your time. You can labor, you can work hard. I mean, 6, 7 days a week, especially at the beginning. You can be sincere and consistent in what you do and still have nothing to show for it because the foundation is wrong. I've lived that. This is something, and that's the reason I'm creating this content piece here is because I know what that feels like. It's a miserable feeling to do everything you think you ought to be doing and find out you're wrong, that you're not building the business that you thought you'd be building. And if you're honest with yourself right now, you may have lived some version of this yourself. So the strategy is not the problem. The foundation is the problem. And yes, there may be some adjustments to your sales copy and to your website and some other things that you need to make, but that is not the reason that businesses fail to succeed. It's just not, and some people think that it is. Until the foundation changes, the results don't change. Now that we've gotten the bad news out of the way, it's time to pivot to the good news. You absolutely can recover from this and build a business that exceeds anything you ever imagined. So what's the alternative? What actually works? It is securing your foundation, and I'm going to tell you how to do exactly that. So before strategies, systems, sales funnels, content plans, or anything else, you have to make sure that foundation is solidified. And the way you do that is to build your foundation on 3 things: your identity, your principles, and your conviction. I'm going to say that again: your identity, your principles, and your convictions. See, these are things that don't change. Markets may change, consumer taste may change, but these are the pillars not only you build your business on, but you build your life on. So people may demand different things from you. It's just a season. You stand on your principles, your conviction, and your identity. You don't change those things for any reason. And yes, you'll go through storms, you'll go through challenges. But when you're absolutely anchored to this, those storms will pass over. And when they do, you will be standing in position to continue forward. And the marketplace will start to recognize when they see people that truly stand on business and don't just use it as a catchphrase. When these three things are settled, everything that comes after them has something to attach itself to. It has something to rest on. But if your foundation is weak, then you're going to drift along with everything else. The strategy is not the source anymore. It's now the vehicle. And when the vehicle stops working, you just change the vehicle, but you never change your principles. Matthew 7:24-27 says, "Everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the wind blew, and it beat against that house. Yet it did not fall, because it had a foundation that was built on the rock." You have to be built for adversity in order to make it in business. And there were times when I thought I was, when I really wasn't. When those storms come, what are you built on? That's the question. A business built on a strategy alone will crack under pressure because strategies don't have integrity. You have to have integrity. Strategies will bend with the data. You don't bend with the data. It shifts with trends. You don't shift with trends. It's only as strong as what is underneath it. Now, I know this sounds simple. Just change the way you think. And yes, it's simple, but it's not easy. But I assure you that transformation, as the Bible says, takes place by the renewing of your mind. What is in your mind and heart determines what you do. If you don't adjust that first, then nothing will help you, okay? Now, most people aren't going to be excited about this, and I get it, because you're not going to get that dopamine hit from doing something and getting an instant result, okay? Foundation work is slower. It takes time. It's less exciting. You're going to be tested. There is no launch day for changing your mind and building a solid mental foundation for you to build the rest of your life and business on. That's just the way it is. But it's the only work that produces long-term results that hold. Get honest with yourself. Determine where you are right now, where your confidence, where your foundation is concerned. Not in theory, but in practice. Think back to some of the decisions you've made and some of the things that have maybe caused you to change your mind. And ask yourself, were you changing your mind because you were chasing trends, or were you changing your mind for a legitimate reason? Maybe you had something incorrect that you thought you had correct. That happens. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But if you're chasing what people want you to be instead of being who you're called to be, you're going to pay a dear price while they're off doing whatever they're doing, having used you for all your worth, and you're going to be left holding the bag. The next practical step you can take is to separate your identity from your methods. Methods come and go, but you should be very careful if you're changing your identity. It's not your funnel, it's not your conversion rate, it's not your stats, it's not your metrics. Okay, your identity is who you are and what you were called to build. It's your purpose. Platforms may change, purpose should never change. And that shouldn't be based on what happened or what you read or some influencer that you heard. It should be based on what you've been called to be and you've been called to do. Romans 12:2 says to be transformed by the renewing of your mind, as I shared earlier. This is the internal work that I'm describing. Constantly feed your mind and renew your mind to make sure that once you've established a foundation, you have those things anchored in you internally in order to make sure that you don't deviate no matter how much pressure you feel, because you're going to feel pressure in this world, and you're definitely going to feel pressure as an entrepreneur. It's not a mindset thing. It's not fluffy. It's a renovation. So when you swap out that foundation, when you solidify your identity, if you were doing things differently, then what you've built should look nothing like what was there previously. It's a teardown. But when you build something back up, it's going to be beautiful if you want to succeed. Proverbs 16:3 says, "Commit to the Lord whatever you do, and he will establish your plans." So listen, you may be in a place right now where you feel like this isn't even worth doing. But I promise you, if you take action on these steps, it will not only change your mind and give you a sense of peace, but your external results will begin to change as well. And you'll grow from faith to faith because your confidence in what you're doing will be solidified and you'll have the results to show for it. Now, I've just shared with you the single most important step you can take to build the business and life of your dreams. And the best part is it won't cost you a penny to do it. You just have to make the decision, make the change, and then make sure that you're constantly renewing your mind so you're not swayed by anything that happens to you along the way. And if something has hit close to home that I've shared with you today, I'd love to hear from you. In fact, tell me where the strategy chase has cost you the most, or maybe there's some other aspect of your business that you know what, this video helped you to realize that, and now you're going to make the shift. I would absolutely love to hear from you. I read all the comments, and I'd love to give you some feedback. So this is Ralph. Thank you very much for tuning in. And every single piece of content that we share is related to business and wealth God's way. Take care. Bye for now.